Hey guys, welcome to 2-Minute Terms Day. I'm Hannah, and in these videos I try to teach you some ceramics terms in 2 minutes. I haven't kept to my time limit yet, but I'm going to keep trying. Today we're going to talk about ceramic safety related to your lungs, specifically the words silica, silicosis, and why wet cleanup is so important. Silica is a naturally occurring mineral. In fact, it's the most common mineral in the Earth's crust. It's in all kinds of things, including sand, rocks, and yes, clay. Most of the time, silica isn't dangerous. It's fine to touch it, you can even eat it. But there are some processes that can break it down into tiny crystal particles that are so small you can easily inhale them into your lungs and they can get down in there, and that's when they become more dangerous and can cause health problems like lung cancer and our next word, silicosis. Now, I'm not a doctor or any sort of medical professional, but I'm going to try to explain this word, silicosis, to the best of my ability. Silicosis is a lung disease that can develop from breathing in silica dust. Usually, it comes from breathing in silica dust over many years in significant quantities, but it can develop faster if you are exposed to a lot more silica dust. Before we had a better understanding of what silicosis is, it had a lot of different names related to different jobs where workers often developed a lung disease. Names like stonecutter's disease, miner's phthisis, mason's disease, farmer's silicosis, and for potters, potter's rot. Potter's rot is a pretty ominous name, and with good reason. When silica dust is broken down into those tiny particles, they're so small, they're smaller than a grain of sand. You can't really see them in the air to be aware of them. And so you can breathe them in without realizing it. Breathing in a lot of silica dust can cause a buildup of scar tissue in your lungs, which makes your lungs stiffer and makes it more difficult to breathe. There are ways to treat silicosis, but it's not curable, which is why the next thing we're talking about is so important. Wet cleanup really isn't a term, but it's a very important concept and a very important thing to do in your ceramics studio. When you clean your tools or your pottery studio, you need to make sure you're using water. Use a wet sponge to clean tools, use a mop to clean your studio floor. You should never scrape dry clay off of tools or surfaces. That's one of the things I most frequently had to remind my students of. That, and don't clap your hands and make a little dust cloud. It looks cool, but that's dust. Wiping or scraping clay crumbs up with your hand or a dried tool can stir up dust and get it into the air. And because those dust particles are so small, you can't see that that's happening. And you don't know how long that dust will be in the air. So it's really important to always use a wet sponge. Also, if you use a towel or a rag, make sure you wash it frequently so you don't get to a point where you can shake dust out of it. And then lastly, the hardest one for me, don't sweep your studio. It goes against all my good housekeeping habits, but never sweep your studio. Skip straight to mopping. Sweeping stirs up dust. You've got to use water, so you want to just mop it. I also want to point out that wet cleanup isn't your only defense against clay dust. If you're mixing dry clay or glazes, you want to work outside or a well-ventilated area or wear a respirator mask. Maybe a combination. If you're using a respirator mask, make sure you use a high-rated filter, something like a P100. You want to make sure that your filter is rated for silica dust because silica dust are so tiny that a lot of filters won't actually filter them out. So you've got to have a higher rated filter for it to actually work. And that's it. That's all we're talking about today. Hope I didn't scare you. That's not my goal. My hope is that this information helps you work smarter and safer, that you create better studio habits. Because remember, when we know better, we can do better. All right, see you next time.